So, well, them baby gorillas. Sorry about that. I was too busy. How you doing, mate? I was too busy trying to get this up here. It's a bit noisy here, and I've got music, which is a definite no-no for us YouTubers. So I'm just talking, mate. I've come down here a bit late, missed the speeches. Let me just flip this round. So there's I know. How you doing? How you doing?
Alright, baby. We're gonna look.
Yeah, you will.
Alright, mate.
I know,
Get
man.
Alistair a shout.
I get Alistair over. So we've got the fellas over here. See, this is very much the sort of undertone to a lot of the nationalists, so-called nationalist protests, where they're all shooting. So it's very much, and I like to keep my commentary quite neutral, not to mention the fact that I'm very much in the middle of politics and a liberal, but we've got people carrying a red flag, which is the far left. I don't think I'm speaking out on a limb to actually say that this is the far left. A lot of people keep saying it's a liberal ideal. It's not a liberal ideal, it's these are far left ideals. So there we've got a guy carrying a Palestinian flag up here. Hello there, hi there, how you doing? And we have got the Scottish Nationalist Party. Or maybe there's, I think that's quite entertaining. Let me see if I can. So I'm not quite sure what benefit there is for shouting at each other across a divide, whatever the divide is. I'm always much keener in actually chatting to people and having a conversation. That's why I try and get both sides of the conversation in, and that's why I try and speak to everybody. It's just the way I've come down here that I've popped out on this side, could pop out on the other side another time. But we've got a certain, so we've got the people who are wanting mass immigration with communist flags. They're covering their face. I don't know why you'd be embarrassed to cover your face if you thought you were on the right side of history. And they're calling everybody else Nazis. So what's actually happening in Glasgow and throughout Scotland is, like in England, there's the raise the colours, and in the raise the colours, raise the flags, they're now being taken down by the Scottish National Party. So the salt tires that are being raised, which is just a symbol of Scotland or Northern Britain, are being taken down by the SNP, who advocate for separatism in their own country while being part of the European Union, which political and also endless Somalians. So none of this really makes sense from a political point of view. It's not politically consistent. It's only politically consistent if you accept that the SNP are a globalist shill party, and under the globalist shilling, we have got a communist undertone. That's the only way that you can do it. And endless Somalians, that's it, open door immigration through them saying that they're Scottish nationalists, but not actually being Scottish nationalists, being shills for the globalist and the globalist agenda. That's the only way that makes sense. It doesn't make sense that the SNP are ideologically a nationalist party, which I think they've actually come out and basically stated they're not a nationalist party. So they'll bring in loads of people, population replacement, fifth columnists, bring in population replacement, which is illegal under international law, couch it through asylum seekers, because if you were seeking asylum, eventually you would go back to your country of origin, because you would be seeking asylum for a period of time. But when you actually look at it, you can see, I can understand the extremes. Now that these obviously become further emboldened and appointed of home secretary, of course it is, of course. So, but what they're shouting about over there is that they support Palestine. Now the Arabs and the Muslims in particular are very anti-Semitic, a bit like the Nazis. In fact, the Palestinians supported the Nazis in World War II. And we already know, because I've already told my baby gorillas, that the Nazis came out of the Marxists. It's a schism. A schism. So we've got good to see you, bud. How you doing, mate? How you doing, budgie buggler? So we've got the communist flag here, and we've got people dressed in a Islamist garb, calling other people Nazis. It doesn't sort of, again, no ideological consistency. I was a stranger and you took me in. So we've now got the guys that are killing Jews. The guys that are killing Jews just now, calling other people Nazis. It just doesn't make sense. It's not that they can't do that, but the actual people who are murdering Jews in the Middle East are calling other people Nazis. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And also you have to understand the closeness of National Socialism to Marxism. So those that support communists, actual literal communists who are actual literal Marxists, are brilliant, mate, good stuff. Who are actual literal Nazis, who are Nazis. Now I've not met any literal Nazis, but I have met literal communists. Literal communists, and they're not embarrassed in the fact that they've murdered 100 million people. That's not an embarrassment to them. They've killed more people than the Nazis, and once you understand that the Nazis and fascists came out of the Marxists, then you start to understand it's a schism. It's not the same. It's a schism from Marxism, where we have actually seen the communists and the communists don't actually work. So communism doesn't work to the extent the communist society and the Soviet Union, and that's it. Communist society and the Soviet Union split and are now a fascist, more fascist than anything else, more fascist than Marxist. So this really sums up the SNP. They'll shout Nazi at other people who are potentially not Nazis, but they're waving a red flag who have murdered 100 million people, but with people who are Jewish, who are murdering Jews, such as the Palestinians. The right wing haven't even came out to play yet. This shite all performative till then. Well, I've never met an actual Nazi. I've never met a Nazi in Scottish politics. I've never met an actual fascist, but I have met many communists. I've told you this before. So we've got the country that was murdering the Jews, and also could have been said self-defense. could have also been said in self-defence. But but they're calling other people Nazis. None of it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It's like the saltire being put up in posts, lampposts in Glasgow and Renfrew under an SNP local council, who then take down the saltire from lampposts because of the far right. Because I think they don't support the Palestinians who are murdering Jews, literally murdering Jews. They don't support the communists who are anti-Semitic as well. Don't forget the Jewish question came out of Karl Marx. And the Nazis were in the Nazis, the actual Nazis were out of the Social Democratic Party, left-wing party, and the Afternoon Richard, and out of the Socialist Soviet Party and what was it called? The Bavarian Socialist Party, and that's where the leading Nazis came out of. All the leading Nazis were left wing. They were all out of Marxism. And then we've got these guys as well. So this girl I don't think's even Scottish. So I don't know. They seem like a whole bunch of people who have been allowed to emigrate here, and we've got somebody who's English apparently telling us who we should and shouldn't be allowing into our country. So why are the English trying to ethnically cleanse the Scots again? The communists are anti-Scottish as well. Don't forget, Marx and Engels were a couple of Germans, like this English girl here. And don't forget, we know what would happen to the Scots in the ethnic cleansing before. Alistair, come on in, buddy. I'll let you go this side, Alistair. Come on, I'm going live just now, mate. So how did it go?
It went very well, thank you for asking. We were here, the police were very good, they kept the two sides apart. We had a couple of hundred people, which is good considering that many of our people don't always come out to this sort of thing, not necessarily their bag. So we had a couple of hundred of people, which we're very pleased about. Thank you to everybody who came out. Really proud of you, all you guys. And we made history here because this is the first ever time that we have had a immigration restriction event in the great British city of Edinburgh. That's never happened before. This is the first time. It's not going to be the last time, as you may have heard from the podium today. So we're getting this. We're ensuring to move towards a situation where the people in that building in front of me, the Scottish Parliament, understand that immigration restriction and fraudulent asylum seeking is a big issue now in Scotland. Last year, a population of long-term legal immigrants of 75,000 people, that's equivalent to the size of East Kilbride, came in. The year before that, it was 90,000, which is a population considerably bigger than Scotland's fifth largest town, which is Paisley. 90,000, followed by 76,000. A small country like this can't go on like that for more than 10 years without transforming everything, transforming it. And, well, you heard our arguments today, and they will be developing them and pushing this out. But this is Scotland, right? This is the only country we have. All these people who are coming in, they've got their own countries. And so, this is the only one we've got. We've got a right to say no more. And we can do that perfectly fairly and perfectly humanely but perfectly firmly, and point out that we need to restrict mass immigration and we need to stop all this fraudulent asylum seeking.
Why did the SNP take down salt tiles?
Well, that's an interesting dynamic which is developing now. Apparently they don't like people flying salt tiles. Apparently flying salt tiles is now right-wing or worse. And so it's difficult when you look at a salt tile. I mean, salt tiles in the background, I don't know what kind of salt tile is that? Is that the flag of Scotland or is it
For the EU?
Is it for the EU, or is
communists?
it for the asylum seekers? Who knows? Who knows? But no doubt John Swinney can write this out for us. No doubt he'll give a speech to the establishment press, and they'll all be fawning and licking his feet as they usually do, and saying, Mr. Swinney, what kind of how will we know what a saltire is? Is it whether it's a left-wing saltire, a right-wing saltire, or a centrist saltire? And he'll go, well, you'll know because I'll point out what are the good saltires and what are the bad saltires. And they'll be like, oh, thank you, Mr. Swinney. That's the state of the Scottish press. The state of the Scottish press that hides figures from you like I've just given you, which is that 75,000 people, a town the size of East Kilbride, came in legally to settle in Scotland last year. That's crazy. We cannot have that every year.
I'll be round to talk to you in a minute. What I was going to say? Are you wearing is that an Irish kilt? Is that an Irish kilt?
I'm trying to do an interview with the mass media here. Okay, I just one of our fans in the background there shouting at us. But we're doing this interview with our man David. Any more questions?
Yeah. So I think the question is that it's very strange for people that don't understand Scottish politics to think that the Scottish National Party are not a nationalist party. They're basically a globalist shill party. They're extreme left, and maybe an Islamist party as well. It's very difficult for people who maybe are not in Scotland to actually comprehend that the SNP are not a nationalist party.
Well, it's a good point. Back in the 60s and 70s, the SNP would be what you could probably call a nationalist party. But then as society started to change into the late 70s, under Alex Salmond, they got captured by, what was it, something club he called it, and they all just pushed it in that kind of direction that it's been in ever since, and they've never ever wanted to speak about mass immigration, because they are now just internationalists. They're not nationalists in the sense of believing in the nation. They're like all these people over there who believe in open borders and stuff. I'm trying to listen out one
It's quite funny. These guys are quite funny. Hello, fellas. You're a great guy. I'll be round in a minute for a chat. Don't worry.
Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Hey, Alistair, let's.
This hair is as perfect as you'll ever see it again. So make the most of it.
So Alistair's having. I like this guy.
Alistair, get a job!
So, as I said, we've got a whole bunch of individuals who are on other sides. It doesn't make consistent. It doesn't make consistent ideological sense, and that's where I go in. I mean, obviously, I'm an independent media, so I'll go round and chat to them anytime. There's no problem with me. So you get a chat, but because I do get both sides. So hopefully I can go round. They don't disappear, and I can go round and get a chat. So Alistair, right? So.
Okay, we're going to basically ahead.
Yeah. So you had. So how did it go then? Was it good? Who was all speaking today?
Myself was speaking. Nick Mitchell from the We Say It podcast, who also helped us to organise this, he was speaking. We had Ken Thompson from the Alliance for Democracy and Freedom Party was speaking. And we had Dr. Alan McManus from a Scottish Nationalist Party, an old style Scottish Nationalist Party that realises that men are men, women are women, children are children, and Scotland is Scotland, and it should have borders. And we can talk to Scottish nationalists like that. We can't really talk to people who think that Scotland is just some land for people to squat on.
Yeah, and I think that hits it on the head, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think they're doing it deliberately. It's population replacement, which is illegal under international law.
Well, if the figures continue at the figures that they are at the moment, bringing in a new town the size of East Kilbride at least every year, then it's not going to be very long until the Scots are a minority. The native Scots. And people go, oh, Alistair, native Scot. What do you mean by that? Well, obviously we have to define what we mean by that, and I would define it as somebody who can trace their heritage, which is to say their grandparents, back to the pre-First World War, back when Scotland looked like Scotland had looked like for thousands of years. So if you can trace your heritage back to pre-World War I, if you've got grandparents who were living in Scotland, or indeed the wider United Kingdom at that time, then you have an absolute right to call yourself a native Scot or a native Briton. You might be a full native Scot, such as myself, or perhaps you'll have partial ancestry, but you'll have native Scottish ancestry in some way, a percentage perhaps. But most of us here today are native Scots, 100%. We can trace our grandparents back to 1914 when war broke out, and the very next day, and that's why we trace it back to prior to World War I, because so many of our ancestors perished in World War I. It was an absolute slaughter, and many men who were alive on the 4th of August 1914 weren't alive the next day or the next 4 years. So we have to trace it right back to prior that terrible destruction. But that was anyway back when we looked very much like many of us do today. And it was after that period, after the wars, that Britain really started to change demographically. So when we say native Scot or indigenous Scot, I think it's important to be able to clarify what that is. And it's important because you can't talk about immigration without talking about those key elements of what is a Scot.
Yeah.
And my definition is actually quite liberal in that, you know, if you're half and half, you're still 50% native Scot.
Yeah.
You can't deny that,
Yeah.
you know. So in that sense, it covers all the bases.
Why do you think they've only got the one chant about Nazis and things like
They're
that?
very boring.
Uh-huh.
They're very boring at that.
It's very it seems so somebody was complaining in the Guardian. Carol Benjamin of the Lotus Eaters said it's not really hitting because a lot of the people aren't really Nazis. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, and people just scratch their heads at it. Good. Okay,
Yeah,
well, I have
Alistair,
to head.
thanks very much. Always good to see you. Thank
Cheers,
you.
David. Thanks very much for that.
David, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Guerilla TV channel, Guerilla. No, I haven't got a card, buddy. Well, mate, I will. I've got tons of stuff to do. Guerilla TV channel. Hey, where are they? See you later, buddy. See you later. So, Endless Mammalians, let's go and see if we can go and speak to some characters. See, again, I'm sorry, the media is sort of blocked in, so I can't go and speak to them that way, and I can't go and speak to them that way. Where's this guy? Go. Hiya pal, how you doing? You well? Good to see you, well. Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, I didn't see very much of it, to be honest with you. How you doing, Kenny? You well? I missed all done, we'll just get a wee chat.
About to jump and run, I think so.
Are you going? Do you want a wee...
Yeah, they're on Tuesday at the gym's demo.
Where?
Tuesday at the gym's demo.
What time? Right, that's cool. How you doing? You well? Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Is there a way you won't go over? You can't get through. I can. So they're not letting independence. Yes, this is a problem. Because that means it looks like I've got a one-sided thing, right?
That's
so
fine, but you'll need to go that way to get out. You won't be able to go.
So I've got to go all the way around then. Jesus Christ. So I've now got to go all the way around. I can't go through like the independent media. So it's I can't go around as the independent media to actually go and speak to the other side. So it's just absolutely shocking. I've now got to go all the way around. Can't hear these guys speak. Can't listen to them. So this is probably as close as I can get just now, because I really can't be bothered going all the way around, man. They really, let me just get this. This is the Scottish Nationalist protest, so I can't go round this way, I can't go round the other way, and I can't get a chance to speak to them. So it then looks biased. It looks like I cannot actually get the other side. And I came in this way, so I was naturally coming to this side, but I could have come out the other side. And they were basically I now can't go over listen to the speeches unless I go right the way around and down the other way. So it's not beneficial, and what they're trying to do is make it harder and harder to get both sides of the conversation, the police. And I've already had, up at Falkirk it was done really well, I was able to speak to both sides. And now here, I can only speak to one side, I can't speak to the other side, unless I was to jump over the wall. Jump over the wall. But as you can see as well, there's quite a lot of Palestinian flags. So there's no problem with supporting Palestine, but it's just a bit strange. You're taking down Scottish flags and putting up Palestinian flags.
Paid for by the British state. Now, I would have much preferred to have a less opulent building than this, but it's the one we've got.
I don't know if you can hear the speeches.
So what we have to try and do is change what happens inside that building. And this is where it comes back to each and every one of you. To have
but so the SNP, it looks like the Labour Party are being decimated, but the Labour Party are getting absolutely wiped out. I mean, they're down at some like 16%. That wee wall can't stop. Yeah, all in mind. I know I should jump down and actually listen to them. It's really bad. I don't like it. It looks like I'm politicised police. Politicised media, which I don't. I definitely try and get both sides, or all sides of the political debate. Yeah, doing a bit of rambling over just to probably get chased by the police. The media getting chased by the police. You can just picture it now. So this is the nationalist thing. This is the nationalist side.
Okay, so.
So they're the sovereign people, but I mean it's quite incredible. But now the SNP, this is what I was going to say. I was going to say that the SNP are now sitting at 61 seats, but the SNP, Baldy John is that bad that he has not got any strategy. Do it or you're a shite bag, these people are not got a mechanism for Scottish independence. That's the problem. We've not got a strategy. There's no strategy there for Scottish independence. And what would Scottish independence look like? Are we going to have a globalist Islamo-Marxist party? Is that what we're going to be as in Scotland? I mean, we already have the Palestinian flags up here, which doesn't really make sense in the Scottish context when you take on one of the biggest things that happened in Scottish history, which was Robert the Bruce Hart being taken in pilgrimage. Apartheid, everything is ironic, yeah. It's unbelievable, hypocritical, two contradictory political positions at once. I mean, it's quite incredible. Listen, I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to go over today because I would have to walk right round and I can't be bothered. But I'd like to have heard their speeches as well. Am I going to go round?
So,
Alright, well, let's go round. Screw it, man.
We want to tell the Parliament what we want. We don't want to wait every 4 or 5 years when they ask you to give them a vote, and then they go in there and they just decide what they're going to do. They need to be accountable to you, each and every one of you.
So to be honest with you, I can't be bothered, man, honestly. But I would have actually gone down. I would like to go both sides, but I can't really be bothered. I'm getting a bit lazy just now, and I am. It was a struggle to get down here. So yeah, I would like to hear the nationalist side. The next nationalist rally I'll go to as well. Obviously, over the years I've covered nationalist rallies as well. So yeah, interesting people shouting about Nazis. It's not the Nazi derogatory comments. I don't think are hitting, and I think the guy Carol Benjamin covered that. The people who are complaining about the mass immigration, unlimited immigration, is not Nazis. So these are just probably concerned parents now. So the fact of these extreme political activists being there, and I know from speaking to people that they're not Nazis. There are communists, but they're not another side. But this side, they're not really Nazis. Not strictly to the not at all. In fact, not even strictly. A lot of them are actually liberal, and it's really like a debate I get from the far left to the centre left to the wait until I put this down from the far left to the centre left versus the liberals. So it's really not a Nazi, non-Nazi-esque, and there is nothing more fascist that's happening in British politics than the concentration of power at a centralist level in the European Union. There's nothing more more centrist than that, more centralising than that. So the real fascistic policies is the Union, is the European Union, and it doesn't make sense from a Scottish nationalist, an actual Scottish national point of view, to give up your sovereignty once you get back and only give it away to the European Union. It's nonsensical. Let me just put this down. Politically nonsensical. Political nonsensical. So you have to have at least consistent views. The things you're saying, you're calling people Nazis while holding a flag of a country that just went into Israel and murdered people, murdered children, murdered kids, and while at the same time calling other people Nazis. There is no. Listen to this. I'll freak you out in this one. Christian fascism. We take the gospel like Luke 19:27. So I don't know what that was about, but anyway. here's a brain teaser, a political brain teaser for you. They're calling everybody else Nazis with regards to immigration. Tell me what the National Socialist policy was in immigration. Tell me what the fascist policy, whether it be Italy, Spain, anywhere else, position on immigration was. I don't know if any of you can tell me. I mean, what is Nazi? See, you're talking about two separate things. You're talking about the Nazis or fascists, because that's a common chant as well. But I don't know what the National Socialist position on immigration was. I don't know what the National Socialist or the fascist position on immigration was. National Socialism is definitely not fascism. There are 10,000 Jews in the Italian Fascist Party, and obviously I would have said that National Socialism was anti-Semitic. So it actually doesn't make sense, the way that you're actually wording it. And obviously the Scots were, I've already gone over this, who the Scots were an invading Irish tribe. So the fact that you're named after people who invaded the country and now you're wanting open door immigration under the European Union, none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. It's not a coherent ideology. And they would be easily attacked if the rest of the political parties weren't on board with it. We have literally got 5 political parties, all of whom believe in mass immigration and the use of mass immigration to displace people. And that's what the underlying objective is from the globalists. That we all get atomised, we all get put in our wee houses, get governed by the state, and you're... He's in Edinburgh. Sorry, that's exactly what happens. You get atomised, you're basically an economic battery for the state, a bit like the Matrix. So that's their objective, not the SNP's objective. Well, although there are quite a lot of communists and neo-communists. So yeah, quite interesting. So we've got there was a guy in a cafe shouting about he took us in, calling everybody else Nazis. And it didn't really make sense, so I'm not sure if the guy was somebody who'd been given refugee status here. The parties have to be making out, sorry I missed that, I'll have a look at it later on. But the parties have already decided this. We get to Sharia in the end. It's ridiculous, yeah. And the reason behind that, we've now got a Muslim Home Secretary is because of the Union in the Mediterranean, the Barcelona process and the UN Compact in Marrakesh. It's not their respecting our laws, we've got to respect their laws in our country, which doesn't make any sense. So that's a big issue for them. White Sharia. So yeah, this is I'm getting an increasingly big issue, because right now we haven't seen a lot of people haven't seen what actually Sharia is, but believe me, it's not nice. It's not something that's going to be advantageous or better than the liberal democracy that we've got just now. It's basically theocratic fascism, which the other side seem to be embracing now, which the left side seem to be embracing. Because if you're a Scottish National Party and you're taking down the Saltire, even if it is from right-wing people, and you're trying to go over 50% to get independence, none of it makes sense. Doesn't make political sense. It's stupid. So you would have to pander if you're trying to get to the 50% mark for Scottish independence. Patrol AF. So if you're trying to get to 50% to get Scottish independence, unless your strategy is population replacement and get the new immigrants to vote for the SNP. But unfortunately, they're coming in and standing with communists, which are communism, as I said, is antithetical to Scots. They were a couple of Germans. Patrol eatery is correct. The potato eater is correct. So all of this is not making any sense. So we've now got people coming in backing the far left, which is more of a problem than being nationalists. Obviously, Marx and Engels were telling their followers, their communist followers, to murder the actual Scots, the Scottish Highlanders, and they were actually telling them to murder them. So that's what it says under Marx. Yet at the other side, so the good guys side, with the Palestinian flags, murdered the Jews, calling everybody else Nazis. The communist flag, anti-Scottish, wants to murder the Celts. Two couple of Germans who wanted to murder the Celts in the UK, and now we've got them through the European Union wanting to displace the indigenous population, falling birth rate, and yet population replacement, which is illegal under international